Imagine standing in a world where shifting reality with your mind is as effortless as breathing. The allure of psychic powers. They are the ultimate tease, tangible yet elusive, sparking excitement and nostalgia. For many, like myself, this fascination came alive through iconic films such as the cult classic Scanners. Who hasn't at one point envisioned themselves with the power to move objects at will? Yet, in our waking world, such powers remain the stuff of fantasy or a YouTube quirk waiting to be explored by others. As for me, I find my control in video games. If you want to get as close as possible to wielding psychic powers, video games are your ticket. Sure, movies are a blast, but you get stuck on the sidelines. For most of us, that's not enough. Out of all games that let you unleash these abilities, one stands out. Espionage. If the name doesn't ring a bell, that's because it was later rebranded as PsyOps, the Mind Game Conspiracy. The development story of PsyOps is quite fascinating. Originally envisioned as the first chapter of a brand new franchise and even a movie, the game faced complications both before and after its release that ultimately led to the ambitious plans being shelved. Inspired by the US Army attempts to develop ESP enhanced soldiers, the game's working title was Espionage, a nod to its focus on psi powers. However, Midway, the game's publisher, changed the title to PsyOps, the Mind Game Conspiracy, to better emphasize the game's psychic elements. The studio trouble kicked off with the game's E3 2003 debut. Director Brian Eddy recalls how Midway, desperate to impress, pushed for an early review of Espionage. The game was nowhere near ready. Most assets were placeholders destined for the cutting room floor. In frantic scramble, the team cobbled together a prototype fully aware this rush showing could make or break them. As the crowd buzzed with anticipation, the big questions hung in the air. Would this has to review showcase PsyOps' true promise or sink it before launch? The only remnant of that chaotic moment is the prototype trailer you're watching right now. It's different from the final game, but not as wildly as I expected. Despite the rocky review, there was quite a buzz and the game journalists were left quite impressed. The positive reception also helped with the internal testing, and because of all this, Midway management gave the studio an additional year and funds to continue developing the game. However, Eddy reviews that other factors also led to the poor sales. One of the constraints is time. The game was built using the Havok engine for the physics and a custom one for everything else. The game was going well, but the competition was strong, and with the approaching deadline, the team realized they wouldn't be able to polish the game to their full vision. On top of that, Midway screwed up the marketing of the game. People didn't know about the game. A couple of months before the game's launch, Midway completely revamped the marketing department and brought in a new team that had become familiar with the game while inheriting a marketing campaign already in place from the previous group. So the game was caught in the middle and never got a chance to shine. On a positive side, during the development, people had a lot of fun playing and testing it. The core of the game was really meant to be a sandbox. You see this in a playroom of the original. We made this to test out the powers and their interaction with each other, enemies and the environment. It ended up being so fun just to play around in that room that we added as a feature to the game and the demo. You can actually see the remnants of this. While the levels are not big in any stretch of the imagination, some offer only a snippet of what the devs intended. Maybe there are two ways to reach your destination. Maybe sneaking and messing with the enemies is exactly as fun as throwing them around. Your abilities also give you a few ways to approach certain situations. Possess someone to just shoot a barrel up close or help you take down some enemies, or ease your way around. Puzzles also work the same way. Nothing is mind-blowing, but it's still hell of a fun. What the devs cook is hardly seen in video games thanks to the Havok engine. On June 14, 2004, the game was released in North America for PlayStation 2 and the OG Xbox, in the EU on October 1, 2004, and for Windows only in the EU on February 11, 2005. The game received positive reviews from the media, citing the amount of damage you can do with the side powers, directly interacting with the NPCs, or using objects in the environment. There is a heap of praise for the physics in the game, but there is negative sentence about the level's aesthetics. There are a mixed reception about voice acting, NPC AI and graphics. From what I can find, the game sold less than 500,000 copies on PS2 and Xbox combined. There is nothing available online for the PC version, and Midway never issued any official sales figures, so all the numbers are estimates. Take them with a pinch of salt. Before I continue with the gameplay and story, I must mention some not so pleasant aspects of the game. Firstly, the pre-rendered cutscenes are being moved to to the left side of the screen. I assume this is due to using the widescreen patch. For this video, it will be centered. Second, since the game wasn't designed for widescreen, the in-engine cutscenes, black bars, don't extend to the edges. Both look weird, but that's the nature of playing some older titles. And lastly, there's some point where almost all sound disappears and the game crashes quickly after it happens. Once this occurs, you need to save and quit the game, otherwise you can lose progress. This happened to me, which is how I know. Other than that, it's an okay port. There aren't many options, but it runs well on Windows 11. What I can't understand is why, when you have to enter a code, you have to use A and D plus up and down arrows to move on the keypad. The controls are similar in the menus. This setup can be annoying, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I played it entirely with mouse and keyboard, but you can try with a controller. The game seems designed for a controller use, especially with the inclusion of the lock-on button. Gameplay can be summarized as fun but flawed. To understand why, let's break down the components and see what works and what doesn't. Let's start with the most basic one, the shooting. If I have to describe it with one word, I would say it sucks. Not always bad though. The first weapon you get is a silenced pistol. It's a pretty decent at long range and it's useful if you want to go stealth. You mainly aim for the head if you want to end the encounter quickly and preferably when the enemy hasn't noticed you. It's a pretty good start. However, once you get the submachine gun, things fall apart. I hate how this weapon functions. The spread is very high, and even if you do what the game tells you to fire in bursts so it doesn't spread that much, it's still too much. And doing a headshot is an impossible task. The only use I could see is when you hold someone in the air and fill him with lead. The aim at that point is automatic. That's why initially I used mostly the pistol for long range and the submachine gun when I run out of bullets. The moment I picked up the shotgun, I never looked back. It is a true head remover. Aim for the noggin and it bursts like a piñata, just without the candy. The damage is brutal, the range is surprisingly solid, and it quickly became my weapon of choice. My go-to move? Lift the enemy with the telekinesis, drop them, and finish the job with a swift shotgun blast to the head. Efficient, satisfying, and a real ammo saver. After the shotgun, you get the automatic rifle. It's still not a great weapon, but at least it doesn't spread as much as the submachine gun. However, like it or not, you'll be forced to use it for a big portion of the game. At least it can do somewhat competent job of killing NPCs. And the last weapon is a sniper rifle. It can one-shot almost all enemies if you aim for the head, but it's not a good weapon either. There are several reasons. The zoom is very slow. Once you press the button, it takes ages to zoom in, and if you want a closer look, you have to use the arrows. It feels bad using the keyboard, and the aiming with the mouse is bad. If you try to be precise, aiming is slow, but if you try to react quickly to a moving target, you spin in a random direction, probably someone behind your back. I don't think this has anything to do with the game's quality, but more with the newer hardware. I lowered the mouse's DPS, but it didn't help much. The game is slower paced, but if things hit the fan, you would want a proper aiming. There is no reliable way to protect yourself despite having a cover mechanic. You have to be out in the open to snipe some heads, and for steady aiming you need to crouch. Otherwise, with these issues, it's almost impossible to kill someone. It's a situational weapon, so I avoid it most of the time. The main problem with the weapons is their lack of kick. Enemies do react appropriately, flinching, twisting and turning, but even the shotgun is not great. Yes, it does blow heads, but it doesn't feel powerful. Also, the damage you do feels inconsistent, almost random. Even with a well-placed headshot from a pistol, it doesn't always guarantee a kill. All the weapons feel like an afterthought or maybe a secondary option to the main event. The psychic abilities. You can carry only two weapons, with one always the pistol, but that's not an issue. Your mind is the third and the deadliest of them all. The psychic abilities in the game are not only super fun to use, but also surprisingly useful throughout. While some abilities might be more thrilling than others, each is intricately woven into various aspects of the gameplay. To enhance the player's understanding, let's group these abilities by themes, reflecting how they contribute to the gameplay experience. Scouting abilities. These are abilities that allow the player to gather information, strategize their move effectively. Remote viewing is a simple yet highly effective ability that lets you quote-unquote walk through doors and observe enemy patterns, crucial for planning your next move. The crucial move is for them to turn around and then you smack them. Our view, on the other hand, switches to Predator mode, highlighting invisible mines and enemies and helping navigate tricky situations, mostly the cursed mines. It's very situational, and if I'm not forced to use it, I rarely do. Control abilities. Mind Control and Mind Drain belong to this category, offering powerful ways to manipulate the battlefield. Mind control allows you to puppet NPCs, using them to your advantage in various tactical scenarios. Mind Drain, meanwhile, is a dual-purpose ability, recharging your sidebar and adding an offensive edge by eliminating enemies silently. The exploding hits are a bonus. It's not the only way to refill your sidebar. Psi rejuvenators can be found at predetermined points in the levels, so resourcing them is important since you can carry only too small and too big. I mostly use them when there are no bodies or alive NPCs around. One of the reasons why I didn't pop the enemies' heads all the time is that once the dome is off, you can't drain them. I had to pick and choose when to blast someone's attic. However, my intrusive thoughts prevail often. Destruction abilities. For those inclined towards chaos, abilities like pyrokinesis and telekinesis are a joy to wield. Pyrokinesis lets you set everything from falls to wooden crates ablaze. Despite its potential, the game's design underutilized its chain reaction mechanic, missing opportunities for intricate puzzles and combat. Telekinesis, the standout ability, enables players to hurl enemies and objects with ease, making it both a strategic tool and a source of endless fun. Each of these abilities contributes distinctively to the gameplay, ensuring that every encounter is as enjoyable as it's challenging. While the game may have faltered in other areas, its diverse ability toolkit remains its crown jewel. For better part of the game, most of the enemies can be easily manipulated in one way or another. They are just slight different variations of a soldier. They use the same weapons as you, and the only difference is how much armor they have. They can be dangerous in numbers, but it's not difficult to scatter them. Once you get the armored enemies, it becomes quite dangerous. You can't use the same tricks. You can't possess them if they know you are somewhere around, you can't throw them, so you have to change the way you fight. You can either throw a boulder or an explosive barrel for a quick kill, or you have to set them on fire and shoot them. I didn't like fighting them much because they are way too big of a bullet sponge. Most of them are using the same weapons as you and like to throw grenade after grenade. The coolest part is that they have a timer and you can grab it and throw it back. There is another armored enemy. He's using a rocket launcher and it's a major pain to fight. One rocket can remove most of your health bar and send you flying. They can actually stun lock you. There is no point in fighting them. If you can, just avoid them or possess them and turn them against their own. The last enemy is these creatures that spawn when you get close to them. They are invisible initially but reveal themselves once they sense you. I didn't find them interesting to be put against. They just rush you in almost a straight line, and as long as you have some distance, you should be fine. If they get to you, they took a pretty sizable chunk of your health bar. You can see them with aura vision and you can't avoid them. You have to trigger them. I find them uninteresting. You can't do anything fun with them. Once more of the armored enemies start to show up, the game takes a bit of a nosedive. Since you're not familiar with the levels and enemy placement, you have to be more cautious and the game starts to drag on. However, the bosses are a different story. For the most part, they are great because each boss battle revolves around a gimmick. These bosses aren't just about straight shoot and die mechanics. They require strategy and clever use of the game mechanics. Some are a bit more straightforward, but you'll probably die a few times before you figure out how to avoid their attacks, which I have to admit caused some frustration. But once you figure it out, it becomes a tense game of cat and mouse. They will make you use your abilities and the resources in the room. Even the first one is great. It's a two-phase boss fight, each one being vastly different, making you adapt on the fly. Admittedly, not all are equally exciting, none of them will blow your mind. The final one is a bit disappointing, but all of them are a good payoff after plowing through the meat puppets. Visually, most levels are a bit on the boring side. You'll always be in some sort of corridor, lab, factory, etc. I don't think I can recall any memorable environment. However, not all is lost in the dreariness. Each level is crafted with every available ability at that time in mind, making the gameplay dynamic and engaging. Some levels loop around, while others open up into diverse chambers filled with unique challenges, puzzles, or combat scenarios. The constant rate is how well they showcase the game's abilities. On one of the levels, there is a room, white and full of cover, an obvious setup for ambush. What made this firefight memorable for me is the giant bell. Once the ambush starts, the room is flooded with a lot of enemies. It's a difficult fight. However, I just grabbed the bell and swung it. This was an aha moment. All levels needed something gimmicky like this. Makes fights more interesting and can put your observation skills to the test. What I can use in the environment besides the boxes to give me a leverage. Such a missed opportunity. Other levels, I remember them for the interesting puzzles, and they are intertwined with the psi powers. I think the most interesting revolves around shipping containers and how to reach a higher ground to continue. If you clear a space and enemies keep spawning, they don't do under normal circumstances, it means they are needed for a puzzle or a way for you to move forward. It's a clever way not to get yourself soft locked. I wish there were more interesting encounters and more puzzles to add variety to the gameplay, because the things I listed just now are what made me remember the game for so many years. One thing that struck me as quite interesting during my playthrough was the choice of music in the levels. The ambient tracks have a horror vibe intensified by the sudden strings. It does make some levels tense. By the end it becomes a bit of an action horror with the introduction of the creatures, but then it takes a different direction with more percussionist, drums and an almost orchestral feel. Boss fights are a treat. They all have their own themes and sound vastly different. The standouts for me are two. The first relies mostly on percussions and drums with a high tempo, making the fight exhilarating. And the second is probably the most mid-2000s sounding track, heavy guitar with some record scratching. I'm a simple man. I hear rock, metal, and I instantly like it. I have to hand it to Midway for commissioning one of the best video game tracks out there, called With My Mind. It's woven into the game's DNA, popping up in trailers and the end credits. I can't play it here for obvious reasons, but listen closely during the Hong Kong level and you'll catch a subtle elevator version, a detail I missed the first time around. The whole soundtrack is a winner, overall very solid work. From this moment there will be spoilers for the story, although the game does it for you very early on. It's not the game's focal point. What I'm trying to say is, if you like psi powers, making people do unspeakable things to themselves, exploding heads, throwing enemies left and right like a ragdoll, you should definitely play it and come back to the video, or skip to the time on the screen at the end of the spoiler section. Let's continue into spoiler territory.
Here's your man, Nick Scryer. Facial reconstruction and a memory wipe.
Intelligence has the movement attacking the refinery in about 90 hours from now. We're ready when he is.
This memory wipe will give us plenty of time to drop him in and get him past the movement's psi probes. Mindgate's specialty is psyops.
I've done some homework on Mindgate. Your boy's got quite a reputation, and it's not all good.
Okay, he's no Boy Scout, but Nick Scryer is Mindgate's best. They dismissed General Krieger, but Scryer stayed with Mindgate and took his psychic powers to a new level.
Memory wipe initiated.
Psyops: The Mindgate Conspiracy is a third-person action game with emphasis on psi powers. You play as Nick Scryer, an amnesiac who fights against the movement, an organization hell-bent on getting power and ruling the world, or something like that. Now, the story is not the focus, and it's a shame. Also, almost all intrigue is revealed in the first hour or so. There is nothing left to the imagination. After the intervention, the game initially shifts its focus to a battlefield where presumably the good guys are defending themselves against the movement's invasion. But the resistance is futile. An army of clearly mind-controlled soldiers plus psychic powers of the agents is no match for the defenders. This leads to many people being captured and transported to a movement base for processing, including Scryer. Nick and another soldier try to escape, shooting their way out, but they are quickly disarmed and the other guy is killed. Scryer is thrown in a solitary confinement. However, a blonde woman who's a telepath sets him free, and from here the game properly starts. The game will gradually introduce new things for the player to do, and the first thing is stealth. You can crouch, take cover, and headshots are king. There is one important lesson here. It shows its rules as a sandbox game. You can try moving carefully and knocking people out or shoot them in the head, but if that's not your style, you can go guns and psi power blazing. However, this is not exactly a run and gun game. Enemies have deadly accuracy despite using the same weapons as you. I'll get to the weapons, don't you worry. Still, before the heavily armored NPCs appear, it's not difficult to dispatch them. Once you get your powers back, the fun begins. Let's continue with the rest of the game. Your goal is to meet the mysterious woman in the supply room. I repeated the beginning of the game a dozen times just because I wanted to do the opening stealthily and also goof around. With the game wrapped around physics, there is no way I would miss a chance to exploit it in some ways. You have a melee option, but it kinda sucks. It's mostly useful for knocking out enemies, but I used it a couple of times out of curiosity, mostly at the beginning. However, I think Chris Redfield took a page from Scryer's book on punching things. Just look at the speed and sheer brutality. Nick fights like a savage. Who trained him? A caveman? Oh, when something is on the ground, you can kick it into oblivion or until you get bored. Someone has anger issues. Jesus, he's dead already. Stop beating a dead horse, meat puppet. Calm down, buddy. One more thing, there is no point in breaking boxes. They are just props to pepper the enemies. Scryer disables some lasers on a door and steps into an open space, and the camera swings to show you are going to be up against a few enemies. Here is where I found that the shooting sucks, mostly this weapon. The others are a bit better. The thing is, this weapon's spread is extremely wide, making it highly inaccurate even at mid-range. The game advises you to fire in bursts because of this, but it still doesn't help. Thankfully, you always have the silenced pistol for long shots. So I died, reloaded and speedrun this part. After dealing with these guys and a bit of roaming around, Scryer reaches the storage and the blonde girl is there.
What took you so long?
Where'd they take my squad?
The next floor for processing. But you're not ready, Nick. You have to recover your abilities.
I'm ready to go now.
You need to find some patience or you'll end up joining them. You trust me, don't you?
What was that?
It's for your own good, Nick.
The hell it is. Who are you?
Sarah Blake. I'm working inside the movement as a double agent. I can keep helping you as long as I don't get caught.
What did you give me?
First things first. You don't have security clearance, but if you trip the switch, all security beams will go down. Then you can make your way to the elevator to get to the second floor. Here's the key to the generator room. Get going before they discover you've escaped.
Sarah gave Nick a shot to help him bring back his memories and most importantly, his psi powers. Here is where we get his first and best ability, telekinesis. When you get back a psi power, the training is in a flashback. And this is where the game literally shows that Nick and the big guy knew each other. I wish this had been revealed later in the game, but the story isn't the game's strongest point. These training sections are fine and do offer most of the scenarios you use any of the abilities. This is where you can notice a slight difference between Nick in the past and the present, the supposed facial reconstruction. It looks like they bleached his hair and stuffed his cheeks. there isn't much of a difference. Also, the plan is kinda dumb. After all the interventions, you count on him to survive the onslaught. He almost got killed, and when you wipe his memories, he forgot all his powers. I guess it's to pass some probes from the movement. And what was his mission? What are they counting on when his memories is wiped? No idea. I think this was supposed to be answered in the follow-up, but that never happened. Anyways, I said it's the best power for this reason. You can fling around enemies like they're nothing, or hold them in the air and fill them with bullets. Let's not forget the objects you can hurl. For the most part, it's very intuitive even with a mouse. Maybe with a controller this would feel even better. All you do is hold the right mouse button to grab the object and move the mouse in the direction you need and let go the button. It requires a bit of patience, but you make every movable object fly across the screen very quickly. For the entirety of my playthrough, this never got old. And this is the reason why I think this is one of the best, if not the best, games that involves psi-powers. Combine all the powers with the physics and ragdolls, and it's a recipe for fun and comedic moments. Nick stops the generator and Sarah tells him to get a key card and run for the elevator. And just before passing through the door, remote viewing is reawakened. It's basically you walk through doors to see if there is an enemy behind them. This got surprisingly a lot of use. You're never sure whether someone is patrolling. After getting a keycard, I was properly introduced to the fact that even with psi powers, facing and mowing down multiple enemies is not as straightforward as I thought it would be. You can easily die if you're not careful. This is not Rainbow Six. It's a sci-fi action-adventure game, but you are almost like a glass cannon. Especially by the end of the game, you can get wiped out very quickly. Keep in mind that at this early stage, I'm still getting used to how telekinesis works. Nick reaches the lift and we are in a giant, or whatever it is. Scrat's determined to save his people despite Sarah telling him it's too late, so he does what he thinks is best. This is the point where we get the mind drain ability. Also, this is the moment when I change what the game calls run mode from straight, in which the camera and body movement are glued to the aiming reticle. Think of it as any third-person shooter in the early 2000s like Max Payne. With the change, the aiming and the body are separate. It feels more natural for this game. While moving deep into the complex, I died a couple of times because there are these 3 chambers, and if you step through the door, it immediately shuts down and poison gas is released. There is a way out by smashing the glass with the soldier, but on my 3rd attempt I didn't even get inside. I remember I have telekinesis, and this is one of the examples how things could be solved in more than one way. It's a puzzle. Nick got a card from the person inside and reached a lab where experiments are done on his fellow soldiers. Just before entering there, we get my beloved shotgun.
Sanders! You're not dead. Let's go. I'm getting you out of here. Sarah, I found Sanders and he attacked me like some kind of zombie.
They're meat puppets, reprogrammed with an implant to fight for the movement.
This has to stop. I'm putting this base out of commission.
Get to the mainframe room. I need blueprints on this place, and we need more information on the General's plans.
Nick is now highly motivated to blow up this place, but first we need to figure out the General's plans. In this section we're introduced to the alarms. If someone notices you, they push a button, and until you stop it, enemies will spawn constantly. What I like to do in situations like this is to throw as far as possible the closest person, then deal with everything else. There is another room where lab workers are butchering people, and you are heavily incentivized to make them extra crispy. There is also a color that will fool the system into thinking you are a meat puppet. Nick passes through a giant open area that is definitely not a boss arena and reaches the door to the mainframe, but it's locked. Sarah tells Nick that the only person who probably has the code is Geoff Leonov, the person responsible for the atrocities here. Conveniently, immediately after this, Nick eavesdrops on a conversation between Barrett and Leonov. Barrett is unhappy that the process is too slow and tells him the general expects the quotas to be met. So how do you get the code? Using remote viewing to look at his screen. It took me a while to figure it out. Inside the mainframe room, Nick finds plans on the movements, compounds and displays. He sends them to Sarah and she tells him to meet her at the warhead storage room. This is across the bridge where we started. You go through a ventilation shaft and here is an interesting set piece. There are these big fans that will suck and kill you, so you need to stop them. But as soon as you do, soldiers appear. I decided to make my life a bit easier, so I turned it on. It's barely visible in the footage, but someone almost immediately turned into mist and I heard the other one. Nick reaches the storage area and Sarah shows up and tells him her plan. A big kaboom.
You want to nuke the place?
Not quite. These warheads don't have any nuclear material left, but they still have plenty of the conventional explosives. I've salvaged them for the materials we need for you to blow this base.
Me?
You trained for this kind of op at Mindgate.
Mindgate?
The secret PsyOps arm of the US military. They sign our paychecks. Wow. Don't you remember anything? The memory wipe allowed you to be captured. Your true memories were supposed to return once you were past the movement's mind probes. I'm sorry, Nick. Something's gone wrong, but we have to move on. According to the blueprints, this base has a major structural fault. I've marked 3 key locations. Placing the explosives there will take the whole place down. Mindgate is counting on us.
Time to set up the charges and throw some soldiers into the depths of the silo. 1, pop ahead, 2, and 3.
Well, what a resourceful little rat that's wandered into my maze. I'll enjoy bending your mind to my will. I'm not too fond of getting my hands dirty. Instead, I take over the minds of others. They do everything I say, like good little puppets. They even see for me.
Time for the first boss fight. I really like it. It mixes weapons and telekinesis, and like almost all others, it's a bit of a puzzle. In the first phase, soldiers spawn from the chambers on the side. Some have weapons, others being manipulated by Leonov to charge at you like a serious-arm kamikaze. They use explosive charges to deal massive damage and knock you back. The puzzle part is figuring out how to stop them from spawning. Just grab one that is under mind control, you can tell by the red beam, and throw them into the chamber. I didn't think of this initially. I was just trying to defend myself until I noticed the explosion. In the second phase, Leonov descends and begins firing energy projectiles. There are a couple of different ones and you can avoid taking damage for the most part. There is one that reverts your controls, but I managed to adjust on the fly. All that's left to do is shoot him, and if you run out of bullets, just hit him with the conveniently placed box. It's a pretty solid fight that tests what you've learned until now.
I have your mind. What?
Nick! Where are you? Meet me on the landing pad.
I'm on my way.
Hurry, you don't have much time before the other 2 bombs go off.
Saved by the Bell. Bomb! Now it's time to get out and fast. The place is about to explode. This is a fun escape sequence. Everything is crumbling, but soldiers are still trying to stop Scryer. There isn't a single one with self-preservation instincts. They really are meat puppets. The timer is quite generous and I didn't stop much for sightseeing. Just moving the enemies out of my way and straight to the helipad. And like a true action hero, Nick narrowly escapes the flames underneath him. At the end, you can get some stats of how you did in the level and what weapons and side powers you use the most.
Nick Scryer! I should have killed you when I first saw you. The best agent I ever trained returns to me as my enemy.
Train me. Where's Sarah? Why did I trust her?
After the first level, I couldn't take the story seriously. I find all the characters besides Sarah quite funny and over the top. While the voice acting is good, every single boss feels like a cartoon villain and there are some questionable decisions from some of the bosses, starting with the general. He had a clear shot and didn't take it. All the screams, especially when you zap them, and NPC lines are just too funny and over the top. Once I accepted the Campiton, I found the game more enjoyable. Don't expect some masterpiece of storytelling, embrace the cheese and you'll have better time with PsyOps. Nick and Sarah landed at a shipping dock and she told him to meet her at the assembly hall. The camera zooms in an object of interest and it's clear this will play a role in future events. Sarah hints Nick should go stealth, but the choice is yours. I repeated this beginning session because I was curious what will happen if I use the sniper rifle or from which side I could sneak. If you make a noise or throw one of the snipers in the towers, the alarm will be immediately raised and you have to fight your way through. However, I decided to play it stealthily, at least at first, and try to avoid the searchlights. It took me several tries, but I sneaked by using the helicopter to hide, then sprinted from the first pile of boxes to the second, climbed on them, got to the top of the building and then dropped down. I think this is the only way to do it without being detected. At the end of this level, we'll be back in this area. Nick finds Sarah and she gives him his next objective, contact Mindgate HQ, and shares a bit about the general.
What is this place?
A front for the movement, run by Edgar Barrett, master of telekinesis and the General's right-hand man.
Why didn't you tell me the General worked for Mindgate?
He ran it, Nick. Up until the point he overstepped his authority and fled rather than face a military tribunal. He never had any of his own psi powers, he simply used Mindgate's agents as his pawns.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's done with his old enemies. I saw Barrett with a crate that had Mindgate stenciled on it.
Now find the communication room. Use this code to contact HQ.
I decided to explore a bit and return to the wide open space designed for speeches, playing with all the enemies. I'm a bit cruel. Also, I cleared the outdoor space of the snipers and some newly spawned enemies. After this I head back to pursue my objective. At this point Nick remembers how to use mind control and immediately a scenario arises where you need to practice it. You need to possess 2 soldiers to press 2 buttons to open the path forward. The first soldier you possess is used to open the gate, allowing you to pass. Initially I didn't realize that I need to take control of the sniper so he could lower the ladder. This is one of those cases where the game will continue to spawn an NPC until you get it.
Hey, cover!
I climbed to the top of the building and possessed a worker just to look around, but I ended up walking him into a fire, leaving him charcoal black. Instead of piling up some boxes that I totally missed, I just jumped straight down, taking some damage. A minute or 2 later, Nick gets in touch with HQ.
Mindgate Operative 6743-0128. Response code Alpha Omega.
Code received. Central Cortex has been breached. Repeat, Central Cortex has been compromised. All agents expect no further assistance. Disregard former assignments. Locate and return Luna 1 to Central Cortex. This mission has been...
Damn it! That crate Barrett landed with.
I told you the crate will play a role, but what's inside that is so important? It's a MacGuffin. After that, Nick stumbles upon Sarah trying to open a safe in Barrett's office.
Nick! Just in time.
Mindgate's gone, Sarah. Barrett attacked and wiped out HQ. We're on our own.
They're looking for this, aren't they?
Luna 1? What is it?
I'm not sure. But whatever it is, the movement assaulted Mindgate head on to get it. The General has Barrett doing some strange experiments on it.
What now?
I'm going on, Nick, with or without backup from HQ. I have unfinished business with the General.
Business?
I infiltrated the movement to find my sister. We were both agents at Mindgate, but when the General fled, she went into hiding with him. It's been years since I saw her. I'm still trying to find out if she's even alive.
Now we both have a plan. You find your sister. I'll take out the General.
The General and Barrett are in the factory office on the other side of the complex. Get a key card from an MP to get into the docks. I'm going to find out more about what they were doing with Luna 1.
There it is, the MacGuffin. Then stop with the shipping container yard, where Nick must navigate a labyrinth of containers and solve the coolest puzzle the game has to offer, and where I just couldn't stop removing enemies' heads with the shotgun. So satisfying. Then we eavesdrop on conversations between Barrett and the General.
What the hell's going on here?
It was Scryer. It had to be.
Scryer's dead. He died in the collapse of the silo base.
Don't underestimate my old partner. He's one of the best.
He was always powerful with Psi. Something I never had. This project will change that. Retrieve Luna 1 from whoever took it.
I have a plan. I'll get it back.
I'm leaving to oversee the fusion in Hong Kong. For that, we need Luna 1, or all we have worked for will be thrown away like garbage. Get it done, or your bloated corpse will find its way to the trash heap as well.
You can feel the sadness in his voice. Poor guy, he didn't have the same toys as the other kids. You have to feel sorry for him. And why didn't Barrett just crush him? Because of his rank? What will the General do besides filling his pants? As I said, you need to embrace the cheese and a few nonsensical character decisions. Nick gets the access card for the train yard at the end of this level. Now it's a trek all the way to the beginning to the door that spawned some enemies, but Sarah intercepts him and acts all seductive.
Scryer.
Damn it! Sarah, one day that's gonna get you killed.
You're going into the factory?
Well, that's the plan, isn't it? Barrett's cooking up something in there related to Luna 1.
He's looking for you. I think you should leave Luna 1 with me, Nick. I mean, what if he captures you? He's more powerful than you can imagine.
Yeah, I know. You never told me Barrett was my old partner.
Really? I could have sworn I did. I'll keep this safe.
The storytelling doesn't spare even Nick from making dumb decisions. It's so obvious this is not Sarah, but her twin. We've known Sarah as long as Nick, and he didn't connect the dots right after he found out about her sister. He basically could be the reason if the world comes to an end or the movement wins. Let's continue. On the start screen, you can see I actually got quite a few heads removed, and most of them with the shotgun. It's safe to say this is probably my favorite Lego. It has different environments, good shootouts, effective use of your powers, and plenty of shotgun ammo. Next we end up in the train yard and a factory. I like the opening of this level. It's an open area with a lot of cover that looks like a good place for a boss fight, explosive barrels, patrolling enemies, and ending up inside the building. The factory itself is fun to go through. Narrow corridors surrounded by machines that could hurt you or the enemies, which can often be on a higher ground, but they are just one push away from meeting the concrete. Eventually we find Barrett, and he gives a cliché speech about how they've been used and the first part of the twist no one ever saw coming.
What are we going to do with you?
Barrett.
You're supposed to be dead.
How does it feel to be the General's lapdog?
We did the bidding of Mindgate for years. Do you think they revered us? Cared what happened to us? No. Not as long as they got what they wanted from their pet freaks. Mindgate is gone. The General is the new visionary for the Psi Elite. Join us. Your memory is in pieces. You don't remember the power you used to wield?
Your visionary isn't going far without his precious Luna 1. I know the General's plan can't proceed without it.
I don't think so.
Sarah?
Sorry, Scryer. Looks like you trusted the wrong girl.
One last chance. Join us.
Sorry, that's not gonna happen.
In this small arena is the first part of the boss fight. It boils down to throwing things at each other. At a certain point, Barrett takes the fight outside in the open. I died quite a few times because I didn't manage to avoid the train cars he was throwing at me, and their one-hit kill.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Barrett can be relentless and you need to move constantly, but he does give you a small window to breathe and to get some hits. If you are quick enough, you can grab a box flying at you in mid-air and redirect it to him. It feels like a proper fight between two great minds. I also just like to bash him with the same box that's next to him over and over again. It's a tough but fair fight. After you defeat him, you lose in a cutscene. I don't mind this, I know a lot of people do, but I can't get over what an easy victory Barrett missed.
I would love to stay and play, Nick, but I have business elsewhere. I gave you a choice. The offer is still open.
Barrett. Damn it!
is no reason for leaving you alive, and Sarah looks disappointed Nick didn't pick her up. I wonder why. Nick flies to somewhere in Asia, Hong Kong, maybe. It's never specified, and someone gets in touch with him, willing to help, and the next boss tunes in.
Contacting Agent Scryer.
Who is this?
You'll find out soon. I've been monitoring your progress, Agent Scryer. I'm sending you the coordinates of the compound now.
These coordinates lead nowhere. What is this?
You just pass through an illusion barrier, land between the buildings, and from there you can infiltrate the North Tower.
I know what you've done. I can see your mind. You're in my world now.
This starting section really begs the player to use telekinesis, and I obliged. After a few deaths from a turret, Scryer reaches the person who contacted him. She summarizes what the general is doing and warns about the next boss.
Were you followed?
Who are you?
You can call me Kamiko. I've been waiting to contact help, Agent Scryer. I'm glad you've come.
You working for the movement?
Originally, yes. Then I realized what they were doing with my research. I've been their prisoner ever since.
What research?
The monolith, Agent Scryer. You've seen a fragment of it, haven't you?
Luna 1?
The core of an ancient artifact, older than we can imagine. The General has collected the fragments. He believes they have immense untapped power.
Do they?
The fragments have some sort of configuration that can activate their true purpose. Stop the General before he unlocks the secret.
Now you're talking my language. Let's go.
I can't be found missing from my lab. You're on your own. I'll keep in touch with this. I've tapped into the system and unlocked the doors to the control rooms. You'll have to infiltrate the data vault. I'm afraid that's all the help I can give for now. One other thing, Agent Scryer. Watch out for Wei Lu, one of the General's psi agents. Her power of illusion can distort reality. It's her ability that keeps the base hidden from the world.
I think she already introduced herself.
Given that someone is considered a master of illusion, I expect her to mess with Nick, and she does it to a certain degree. This is a cool little puzzle. You need to stay in one of the rooms next to a button and mind control one of the people, making him go to the other button, press it, exit his head and push the button. After that, it's time to find out what the general is up to.
Kamiko, this is incredible. I'm sending the data now.
Based on this archive, the two world wars were fought over the ownership of the monolith fragments because of their link to psi abilities. During World War II, the Americans and Russians were successful in seizing the fragments Germany had stockpiled. Then, during the Cold War, the two superpowers developed their own psi programs around the fragments. My grandfather led the American research team that eventually became Mindgate. I picked up his work after he died, and that's when I met General Krieger. The General's next step is to reassemble the fragments of the monolith with a fusion process. I fear its power may be immeasurable. You need to get going. Agent Scryer, get a keycard from one of the guards to take the elevator to the floor below. Make your way to the fusion building, but be careful. Wei Lu will try and stop you.
It's a cliche, but hey, there is something connecting the levels. Immediately after this, Nick regains the power of pyrokinesis. This means the heavily armored enemies will start to appear more and more from this point on. Nick continues his pursuit of the general, and here's where things get freaky. Once he enters the ventilation shaft, you start to notice the presence of Wei Lu. Scryer enters what it seems like a repeating corridor, and your vision is blurry, illusions materializing, and Wei Lu taunting you. This part was quite annoying because of the screen effect. It's like getting drunk vision. I didn't find it enticing. Initially, I was aimlessly roaming around, but after making almost no progress and just repeating the whole place, I decided to open every single door to see what will happen. It turns out this was the right thing to do, or at least what let me move forward. Each room you get a mirage of an enemy or ally. After they disappear, they leave something behind. A weapon, a medkit, ammo or a bomb. Once you open enough doors, enemy will spawn and you will be allowed to move on. If you are shooting someone, it means you are on the right track. This leads to a cutscene that shows Scryer did some bad things in the past. Wei Lu constantly taunts him, saying she knows his sins. He's in a war-torn area where he burns alive prisoners of war, maybe under the influence of Barrett. I like morally grey characters, but aside from this scene, nothing is done with Nick to show a struggle or emotion. He's just angry all the time. Then the scene turns into a graveyard, and the game literally spells that Scryer's past caught up with him, and he needs to free their souls by freeing their minds. Now this is what I expect from someone who can manipulate reality. Something that plays with your mind wild, and it doesn't have anything in common with the rest of the game. This section is spiking difficulty. The zombies are relentless and appear from every direction. The idea is to mind drain a certain number of them. Short and sweet section. Now back to reality, you need to get a key card from a guard to move one floor down. There is a neat thing you can discover here. If you open the map, you'll see that this whole experience was partially real. The building layout you walk through is real, and this open area is the graveyard. I think you can go back and explore, but I regret not trying it. I just picked out the Psi Rejuvenator, which restores your Psi power, and move on. Got the card, moved to the next floor, dealt with the enemies, and now it's time to face Wei Lu.
Fears don't lie, Scryer. You feel your true self, your true essence. You fear to trust your own memories, and so they stay hidden. Perhaps, like your memories, your senses cannot be trusted as well.
It's an alright fight. Initially, the statues surrounding the area come to life and you use pyrokinesis and guns. They're not a threat at all as long as you don't stop running. After you deal with them, Wei Lu turns into a giant monster with 3 tentacles. You need to destroy all of them by giving it everything you've got. Set her on fire, but I think she takes more damage if you shoot and throw stuff at her. This is where I found the lock-on useful. It speeds up the boss fight.
I see your true self.
You feel your past. You fear your destiny. And so you're trapped by fate.
What did you see? Tell me.
I saw what you cannot remember. You have the power. The power to stop the General. That is why you were...
Wei Lu's illusions are fading. The General has lost his cover, and it's only a matter of time before UN forces find this base. He's moving forward with his plan. Hurry. Take the door to the sky bridge that connects to the fusion building and work your way up. Go!
This next part is an interesting mix of puzzles and a shootout. Initially, some of the NPCs blow up a bridge you have to cross. I got rid of them and tried to see if a box would get stuck. It didn't, so I tried to put the piece of the bridge, and it almost ended badly, but I was saved by the grappling mechanic. I'm not going through everything, but the next section took me a while to figure out. Nick ends up in this tube that is some sort of energy accelerator, where energy passes through and you have to turn it off to continue. The catch is that with every lever down, the energy pulse moves faster. After the second one, you don't press the third. Instead, you possess someone, run to the last one and push it. Only after that, you press the last one. Then, just go through the door and don't go out. It's not worth it. There are too many enemies. I decided to try it, but I had to repeat this section. For some unknown reason, all doors bugged out and it looks like something is blocking them, but in reality, there is no collision. You still have to press a button to open the door though. Nick goes down even deeper into the facility until he meets a familiar face.
Nick, it's me. Where have you been?
Back off.
What's going on? You left me on the shores of the Black Sea.
Don't play me for a fool, Sarah. Whose side are you on?
I don't know what you're talking about. I do know you're looking for a way to stop the fusion process.
What do you know about it?
The General built this complex to fuse the fragments together. The object we had was the central piece to a powerful artifact.
Luna 1. I know.
That fragment was discovered on the moon in the 50s, Nick. The US and the Soviets both detected it and raced to get to it first.
And you gave it back to this maniac?
What are you talking about? Why would I do that?
Sarah, I
can't afford to trust you.
Take this. It's a key card for the armory on this floor. Good luck, Nick. I hope you make it.
Now it makes sense why the building was invisible. The fusion process takes place deep down underground, so the site has to be concealed. A bit further we got the introduction of the next boss.
Kamiko, who is that red-headed woman with the general?
Marlena Kessler. She fled East Germany's psi programs when the wall came down. The only thing more unpredictable than her pyrokinesis is her temper. Be careful, Agent Scryer.
The setup checks will have to be bypassed. I won't tolerate any more delays.
Don't know what you're asking. The fusion process is highly unstable.
Our security has been compromised. Weilu's cloaking has gone down. The process must be completed before UN troops reach us.
Damn it.
Scryer, you should be dead. Deal with it.
Do you like playing with fire?
Scryer gets to the armory, arms himself to the teeth because it's time for the next showdown.
Don't move.
Isn't it beautiful? It's everything we've worked for.
Back away from it.
The fusion apparatus is in overload! We activated it too early!
I have what I need. I told you to get rid of him. Finish your job.
Not so fast, Scryer!
Marlena is a fiery girl, and with her new amplified power, she nails through your health bar. Her first phase consists of 3 different attacks: a beam that you almost can't avoid, a laser shot that can be avoided by running around, and a charge blast that covers the whole room and you need to hide behind the protection glass or it's an instant death. The strategy that worked for me was hiding at the pedestal for her beam and laser attacks, and in between throwing the cooling cylinders at her. Once you do enough damage, she jumps out of the contraption and starts chasing you. You just have to avoid her attacks while cooling her. The first time I reached phase 2, the game again bugged out and didn't resupply the cylinders. It's a good fight, big on tension, but it doesn't give you any chance to hold off your surroundings. And of course the whole place blows up with Kimiko sacrificing herself to minimize the damage.
Agent Scryer, did you stop the general?
He's escaping with the monolith.
You have to go after him. The entire complex is going into a massive meltdown.
I'm coming after you.
Forget it. I've already made it to the reactor control room. If I'm lucky, I can contain the reaction to a few city blocks instead of the entire city. You have to stop the general.
You won't survive.
And if I don't do this, millions die. Now go. Don't let my death be in vain.
What about you?
The general
Scryer. It's great to see you again. You wouldn't shoot an old friend, would you?
That voice. I know you. Wrightson. We worked together at Mindgate. You were a master spy who took remote viewing further than anyone else.
How nice of you to remember. And they said your memory was full of holes. I spied on the world for the General, and now reduced to acting as his guard dog.
Where is the General?
Gone to find glory in the depths of the mountain. Ooh, we have your friend here.
Sarah?
Yes, but not for long.
The Himalayan Temple. Now, I wasn't a fan of this level because it slows down the game with the introduction of these creatures, the absurd amount of armored enemies, and the invisible mines. However, this level has one of my favorite shootouts. Conveniently, right at the start you get aura view. You can see the aura of enemies, the invisible creatures, steps on the floor to guide you, and mines. Never liked the mines much. The only way to get rid of one is to throw an enemy because it reacts to organic matter. All this slows down the action, which is a stark contrast to the previous levels. And the creatures aren't that fun to fight, so I like their design. Reminds me of a leech. Nick eventually finds Sarah but gets trapped. She gets attacked by one of those things and gets unconscious. He gets both of them free, however Ringston possesses Scryer but not for long. I move deeper into the temple where I reach a door full of these creatures, and after a few attempts to fight them, I realized it was not the right path. After exiting this small area, you will be ambushed. Here is where it becomes fun. You are outnumbered, so why don't you help yourself with the giant bell? It's chaos but a fun one. Bullets, grenades, barrels and bodies are flying. You set people on fire, and most importantly, your mind is your best weapon. That bell really makes them regret the ambush. This is what the game needed, more situations like this. A bit after this, Nick meets Sarah outside the temple. It turns out the room I was trying to push through is the right way to go, but you need to get rid of the creatures first, and bullets aren't going to be enough.
The temple tower leads to a door at its top. We need to find a way through it.
But it's full of those things.
But the creatures may have a weakness. They seem to be attracted to our brainwaves, yet repulsed by our psi energy. If we can boost your energy, we may be able to scatter them. This is a psychotronic device that amplifies psi waves.
Go on.
Make your way to the satellite uplink station. Once inside, hook up the device and aim the dish at the tower. If it works, the creatures will scatter.
How do I get there?
Look for a secret door that leads out to the mountainside. There should be a switch for it in the temple somewhere. I'll meet you in the tower once it's clear. Good luck, Nick.
Opening the secret door is not an issue, it's just annoying. You have to drag from the bottom this pyramid-shaped key and it's tedious. The other one needed for the door is outside where you met Sarah. Following that, it's another puzzle where you have to use aura view to put the balls in their respective place. What follows is probably the most annoying section of the whole game, but before going through this whole section, Ringston is here to give you some exposition.
This is the place. The ancient monks worshipped a fragment of the monolith here, and like the monks, I have given up my physical existence to find the truth. I have become the true god of the ether.
You've entered RV permanently? Where's your body?
In a safe place. The general thinks that he is going to gain the power of a god. I already wield that power. This is my temple now. With my abilities, I see all and know all. I pierce the soul and control the mind. I control creatures from beyond our dimension and make them do my bidding. What are these abilities, if not the toys of a god?
Where's the general?
I will steal the power from him. He can't leave me behind to play god dog in his hour of glory, and that is why I need you.
The area is full of heavily armored soldiers with sniper rifles and rocket launchers, and you will get hit from the other side of the map even with a machine gun. If you make one shot, they will know where you are, and this is also where the sniper rifle should have been more useful, but with that dreadful zoom and bad mouse aiming, it's almost not even worth picking up. It took quite a few tries before I was even close to the satellite dish. I was quickly introduced to a couple of rockets. I stupidly tried a frontal assault, which finished with Nick being tossed around. What I eventually did was possess one of the soldiers, got close to the guy with the rocket launcher and melee him to death. After that, it was much easier to reach the dish and boost Nick's energy. On the way back, you get bombarded with rockets, and since there is nothing you can do about it, just run and try to toss away any enemy until you enter the building. And of course, another ambush is waiting for you in the room with the bell. All I did was shoot the creatures and ignore the soldiers. It's not worth fighting them. Nick ends up in a lab and Sarah tells him that she's trapped by the creatures and the movement has a kill switch to protect themselves. It will eradicate all of them. So let's do it. After a series of encounters and some puzzles, Nick triggers the kill switch and finds Sarah tinkering in a data vault.
This data vault stores everything Wrightson spies on.
The moon? But Luna 1 was retrieved in the late 60s.
Doing a little homework, sis? Tanya?
Your sister?
Nice to see you again, Scryer. Thanks for Luna 1. I've been searching for you. Of course! The General had me go into hiding to draw you to him. He used you to keep tabs on Mindgate. After our parents died, we only had each other. How could you betray me for the General? It was because our parents died that we were taken in by Mindgate. I wanted that to happen. Our parents would have never let us harness our true power. I killed them to ensure our future. No. Wrightson.
Ready to play?
Sarah!
The final phase draws near.
Follow me if you want to save Sarah.
We gave chase and entered the domain of Wrightson, where his body lies.
Damn it!
It's been too long since we saw each other in the flesh. The General is going to acquire the monolith's secrets, but only I discern the power of a god. I'll enjoy ripping out your soul and using your body to take the monolith for myself.
You're insane.
This is a chaotic fight. He's surrounded by TV screens or mirrors, I'm not sure, which shoot beams, and creatures teleport into the room. Once a mirror turns to you, shoot it to throw something at it while defending yourself from the creatures. With each one destroyed, the speed ramps up. Luckily, I had enough bullets to make my life easier. At the end, Wrightson gets what he deserves.
What are you doing? I'm your god. I brought you here from the ether. I command you.
Nick, where's my sister?
She escaped.
I'm going after her.
She's beyond saving.
I know.
I'm going after the General.
Nick, if we don't meet again,
We will.
the last stretch of the game. It's time to go deep inside what appears to be a mining operation. Since we don't get to play with a rocket launcher, this is your chance to possess one of the soldiers who has it. It's overpowered and I love it. When I can use it, that is. I think this is the easiest way to deal with all soldiers in this area. Then drop them down in the pit so their bodies can serve you even more by blowing up the invisible mines. After a series of tough fights, too many deaths, sneaking around the mines and jeeps that comes to life, Nick reaches this cool looking area and is stopped by Barrett.
Barrett. Impressive, isn't it? This is where it all started. Where the General found the first piece of the monolith. And now we are going to unlock its power.
What happened to you, Barrett? We were partners once. We fought for a free world.
A free world? For who? Surely not for those of us that were born as psychic freaks. They used us. Used us for their own ends and discarded us when we became a problem. Or have you forgotten that as well?
No. I've remembered a lot of things, Barrett. I fought the General's plans at Mindgate. I remember that now. I fought you and your goal of ruling the Psi Elite. Mundane humans may have used us, but that doesn't give us the right to destroy them.
The General and I will acquire ultimate power. No one can stop us. Soon all the world will worship us as gods.
Scryer, I'm glad you could join us. My goal has been reached thanks to you. By killing each of my Psi agents, you've made it easy for Barrett and I to have it all. This, my friend, is the movement.
Scryer!
Sarah?
Mom always did like me best, bitch.
Damn! The cheese is complete. We got a one-liner. I love it.
Take care of this. We excavated this site after we discovered the artifact in the temple. It took us years to study, to rebuild these devices in our factory on the Black Sea. The monolith. The monolith is the key. It was created to work within the unique gravitational signature of the Earth system. But, over the millennia, the moon has shifted in its orbit, weakening the monolith's power. Barrett's TK amplifier will fix that. Is now restored. But true power is not meant to be shared. I alone will have the ultimate power of a god!
time to face the general. The final fight is a bit disappointing. Visually, it's interesting in a cool looking environment, but mechanically it's on the simple side. First, get close to the spinning pillars and burn them. There is a hint earlier in the tunnels where a similar looking pillar comes out from the ground and the only way to continue is to burn it. By doing this, energy balls appear and you have to collect them. Once the pillars are destroyed, the general starts floating and chasing you. He either throws pieces of the environment at you, rains fireballs, or shoots some kind of energy. You can only damage him with the balls you collected. To recharge your shots, you need to walk through the pillar protected area, but you can't stay for long. You need to get off so you don't get hurt by the charging wave explosion. Rinse and repeat. I was expecting a bit more from this fight. After this, the game ends on a big cliffhanger that is never resolved. The final statistic shows how much I love headshots and shotguns.
He's gone?
No one will ever unlock the power of the monolith again.
Looks like we have help.
That's no help. I remember everything now. Let's get on it.
Two confirmed survivors! They are expendable. The fragments are top priority. Take them out.
This is not my first time playing Psyops and I remember it much fondly, but going through it now with more critical thinking, I started to see its flaws. This shouldn't discourage you from playing it. For the most part, it still holds up, especially in the Psi abilities. All of them are super fun to use, telekinesis is king, and there is no doubt in my mind that most players will abuse it in any way possible. What really sticks out to me is all the missed opportunities for a bigger, bolder levels. The game teases environmental destruction and creative problem solving, but it's mostly limited to a few spots and handful of objects. The Bell Room is a glimpse of what could have been. Imagine more levels packed with interactive elements, not just crates. Brian Eddy once said this is the dream for a sequel, more destruction, larger maps. But with poor sales and marketing and a crowded June 2004, we were left with a cliffhanger instead. On a more positive side, the director Brian Eddy got to make this fantasy in a different game, Stranglehold. Now the destruction in there is on an entirely different level. It's not Red Fashion Gorilla, but not many are. A couple of months later, another similar title was released, Second Sight by Free Radical Design. I always consider both of them as a package deal, both centered around psi powers. However, if my memories are not lying to me, the story of Second Sight is much more interesting with a darker tone, and there is no goofing around. Time will tell if I'm right. The story is a pure B-movie cheese, and I meant this as a compliment. Character development is almost non-existent. Nick gets a hint of depth, but it never really goes anywhere. Once you embrace the camp, the game becomes a blast. The villains are gloriously over the top, with the general stealing every scene with his screams. The plot is simple. Nick's memory is wiped so he can infiltrate the movement, a mysterious woman helps him to escape and regain his powers, and there is a world-threatening MacGuffin to chase. Logic sometimes take a backseat, but who cares? The real star is the gameplay. Shooting is mediocre, but not as bad as Total Overdose. What makes Psyops shine is the mix of destructible environments, props, psychic powers, and ragdoll physics, a recipe for chaos and laughs. Even after 21 years, Psyops, the Mindgate conspiracy, is still a ride worth taking.